The original 2006 Gears of War is one of those rare games that people misunderstood at first sight. You look at Marcus Fenix, Santiago, Coltrane, and Baird, their massive arms, their bro-like one-liners, their chainsaw rifles screaming through the battlefield, and you assume this is just another meatheaded shooter. You assume this is just about gore and guns, just about testosterone-fueled power fantasy. But then you play it, you live through it, and you realize there's something more, something deeper, something almost cinematic buried underneath the chunky guitar riffs and exaggerated door kicks. That's the magic of Gears of War. It shrugs at its stereotypes, embraces them without shame, and yet somehow transcends them with a mix of haunting storytelling, unforgettable characters, and voice acting that refuses to fade away even nearly 2 decades later. When Gears first hit in 2006, it didn't just feel like another Xbox 360 launch-era shooter. It was the Xbox 360 for so many people. The power system was revolutionary, the kind of mechanic that changed how third-person shooters were designed. Suddenly, it wasn't about running into open fire like a superhero. It was about crouching, flanking, waiting, taking risks, and timing your reload with that perfect active reload click. It was a shooter that demanded patience, awareness, and rhythm, and yet, in the middle of that tactical precision, it also gave you the absurd joy of a Lancer chainsaw tearing an enemy in half with a roar of mechanical brutality. Every gun felt iconic: torque bow, hammer burst, Nasher shotgun, names that still echo in gaming culture like mythical weapons. But the real surprise was never the weapons or even the gameplay. It was the world. Sarah was a broken planet, a place where humanity wasn't fighting aliens from the stars, but monsters from beneath the ground. The Locusts were terrifying not because they were otherworldly, but because they felt like they had been waiting, watching, ready to rip apart civilization from within. The opening moments with Marcus Fenix being released from prison set the tone perfectly. This wasn't the story of a superhero saving the world. This was the story of the last desperate survivors, men already broken, carrying the weight of failure and loss on their backs, trying to deliver one final desperate blow against extinction. Even the broisms, the dickwad insults, the exaggerated door kicks, they worked because Gears never gave you an alternative. There was no normal tone, no wink to the audience saying, "Don't take this too seriously." Gears simply was, bold, unapologetic, and deadly serious about its own bizarre world. And that commitment made it unforgettable. Fast forward to 2015, when the Ultimate Edition arrived. At the time, people asked, why remaster a game that's only 9 years old? But then they played it. They saw the sharpened visuals, they felt the smoother animations, they heard those voices again in higher fidelity, and suddenly the question disappeared. IGN's review nailed it when it said Gears still felt great, that its cover mechanics were smart, its core combat strong, and its tone unshakable. For many, Ultimate Edition was a reminder of why they fell in love with the series in the first place. For others, it was an invitation to finally step into the war-torn boots of Marcus Fenix. Now here we are again, 2025, with Gears of War Reloaded. And once again, the question rises, do we really need another remake? Haven't we seen this story enough? But the truth is, when you play Reloaded, when you see those rebuilt environments, those modern graphics, those 60+ FPS firefights on PlayStation 5 and high-end PCs, you realize this isn't about repeating the past, it's about resurrecting it for a new generation. Coalition has taken the game that defined an era and polished it until it gleams like it belongs in this one. The shadows, the lighting, the detail in every crumbling wall of Sarah, it all feels alive in a way that 26 hardware could never truly deliver. Load screens vanish, cutscenes flow seamlessly, and Marcus Fenix stares at you not like a relic of gaming's past, but like a warrior reborn in the present. But the nostalgia cuts deeper than graphics. Play the Berserker level again, and you remember why it terrified you the first time. That blind monstrosity charging down corridors with the weight of a tank, its roar shaking your controller. You're not just watching a cutscene, you are living the nightmare, constantly repositioning, gasping when you almost get cornered. Play the Krill sections again, and you remember the terror of stepping into darkness for a second too long, only to be shredded alive by swarming shadows. These weren't just set pieces, they were lessons in fear, mechanics that forced you to adapt, to think differently, to stay alive. And they still work today, perhaps even better now, because they remind us of a time when games didn't just tell us what to feel, they made us feel it. Of course, Gears wouldn't be Gears without its multiplayer, and here the controversy always returns. In 2006, multiplayer was chaotic brilliance, a place where rolling, shotgunning, and humiliation kills defined the culture. In Ultimate Edition, and now in Reloaded, that same problem persists. Sometimes the shotgun meta dominates, sometimes cover-based tactical shooting feels secondary. But you know what? That chaos is part of the soul of Gears. Getting chainsawed in half, head popped by a sniper, or gibbed by a torque bow, it's not just dying, it's storytelling. Every kill in multiplayer feels personal, every loss a humiliation, every revenge a catharsis. At 60 FPS, with modern servers and massive audiences across Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, Gears multiplayer is more alive now than it has been in years. But controversy lingers. Some say Reloaded is just a cash grab. Some say it's Coalition playing it safe instead of pushing the franchise forward with a new story. Some argue that nostalgia is being milked too much, that games should not be endlessly remade. And yet, I believe Reloaded matters because it captures something rare, the chance for a new generation to understand why Gears mattered in the first place. For young players who never touched an Xbox 360, Reloaded is their first chance to hear Marcus growl out orders, to laugh at Baird's sarcasm, to ride the adrenaline of Coltrane's booming voice, to feel Dom's loyalty before his inevitable tragedy in later games. For veterans, it's a chance to relive those moments with fresh eyes, to be reminded of a time when gaming itself felt like it was entering a new age. Gears has always been about more than its surface. Beneath the bro exterior, it was about loss, about survival, about the bonds of brothers in arms. Marcus wasn't a superhero, he was a man broken by war, dragged out of prison because humanity had no other choice. Dom wasn't just the sidekick, he was a man haunted by family, by loss lost, by sacrifices he couldn't escape. Even Cole, the loud, bombastic ex-Trashball star, was more than comic relief. He was energy in the darkness, a spark of joy in the middle of despair. And Baird, the sarcastic genius, represented skepticism in a world that had lost all hope. Together, they weren't just soldiers, they were a family, stitched together by war, carrying humanity's last torch through the shadows of Sarah. That's why Reloaded works, because no matter how many times the climbsticks are updated, no matter what platforms it arrives on, the soul of Gears remains untouched. The chainsaw rev is still the heartbeat, the chunky guitar riff after a victory is still the cheer. The A button still does too much, still frustrates, still makes you laugh when you roll into death instead of cover. But these quirks aren't flaws, they're scars, reminders that this game lived through an era, survived it, and came out the other side still standing tall. So yes, Gears of War Reloaded may be another remake. It may stir controversy. It may make some roll their eyes and others cheer with joy. But play it, feel it, let it drag you back into those ruined streets, those underground tunnels, those desperate firefights where bullets cut through the air like thunder. Because once you're back in it, you'll remember what made Gears legendary. Not just the gore, not just the guns, but the way it told you exactly what it was without compromise and delivered on that promise from the opening prison door to the final explosion. Nearly 20 years later, Marcus Fenix and his brothers still fight. And thanks to Reloaded, so do we.